What is rate of perceived exertion for strength training? That's the main thing we're going to go over today. And it's more so for people who don't understand the concept of rate of perceived exertion and how to apply it to strength training as a whole. Because there's rate of perceived exertion for endurance and cardio, and there's also rate of perceived exertion for lifting, strength training. And we're going to go over one, why it's important for strength training. We're going to go over how it actually, what level you are at, and a little bit more into how to start actually using it, practical application. So what is rate of perceived exertion? Why is it important? It's so important because there's a lot of noise about cycle training for different times in the month based on your period. There's also different times that you may feel terrible other times of the month. Instead of just looking at your cycle of whether you're in the follicular phase, whether you're in the luteal phase, it should be more, how do you feel? And so it's better to use your rate of perceived exertion. How heavy do you think something is at this day, this time? Sometimes if you get to train in the morning, you can lift heavier. Sometimes if you train in the afternoon, you can lift heavier. And so one or the other, it's not necessarily has to be this like progressive line of always gating or like a plateau and never degrading when it comes to how much weight you're lifting. Using this rate of perceived exertion, you can now have an idea and also be kinder to yourself if you do need to step down. Oh, I'm used to doing a squat at this weight. I'm just not feeling it today. I'm not going to do it at this weight, and I'm going to judge how I feel on that. That's why rate of perceived exertion exists, is to allow you to shift up or down in your weights that you're lifting in a logical manner. Now, how actually to understand rate of perceived exertion? We look a lot into reps and reserve. That's a way that is kind of almost synonymous with it, but it doesn't exactly explain everything for your rate of perceived exertion. So how we look at that rate, reps, and reserve, and also your RPE is that most of the time 10 is the top of the scale. So it's a 0 through 10 scale. The top 10 is that you cannot lift any more reps in reserve. 9 is that you have one more rep in reserve. 8 is that you have 2 more reps in reserve. 7, 3 reps in reserve. 6, 4 to 5 reps in reserve. And this reps in reserve means that you think you could lift that many more reps after you stopped with good form. Not that you're just like eking it out, but it's actually going to be a beneficial exercise for you. It's going to be a beneficial move. You're going to do the form, do the patterns how you would correctly. It's not just like, I can just lift this up a little bit. No, it's not terrible form at that. You have good form, good quality movement. Now, when I say that it's not just reps in reserve, it's that you have more to kind of put into the pot. It's not just thinking that, because otherwise we just use reps in reserve. It's also how heavy you think the weight is. And this is a good way of starting to go into the last point of practical use of this, because how you form this into the practical use is that you understand, I think this would be a very heavy weight for me. I think this would be a heavy weight for me. I think this would be a moderate weight for me. I think this would be moderate to easy to moderate weight for me. And that's how you look at whether you think something is a 6 out of 10, a 7 out of 10, an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, such and so forth. Is that whenever you're doing your 6, you're kind of your warm-up base round for an actual exercise, is that you're like, all right, I think this is an easy to moderate weight. It's also a great way to set yourself up for success, that you are warming up for the bigger loads and the bigger weights. This is a way that you can set the tone for that exercise, for that superset that you're getting ready to do. And how you can understand, okay, if I lifted 45, 50 pounds for my deadlift for my 6 out of 10, did I feel like that was easy to moderate? Or Am I going to do that same weight again for my 7 out of 10 because I felt like it was a little bit harder than my easy to moderate? Also, a way of tracking this is key. That's why in my app that I use for all my programs, there's a little button to push next to it that you can look back at the other loads that you did at that exercise. Yes, some of them, the reps are going to change, but it gives you a roundabout number for it, a roundabout weight for it. And so you can keep a log of where about you may want to start for your 6 out of 10. It also gives you inklings of if you're overshooting your weight. If you are pushing your weight too much during your rep counts, say you constantly are ending where you're about a 9 out of 10, and you were supposed to be shooting for an 8 out of 10, this can give you an inkling that you may actually be setting yourself up for injury. Practical use. You don't want an injury. And so thinking and having this as a metric, subjective metric, yes, but having this as a metric that you're looking at for your lifts gives you an idea of how to kind of hold back a little bit and make your strength training actually be beneficial for you instead of problematic for you. Because that's what your strength training is supposed to do. It's supposed to make you stronger. It's supposed to make you feel better. Yes, you're going to be sore from it, but it's supposed to help you as an all around and not end you up in saying, oh, I deadlifted this and now my back hurts. This is not supposed to do that. And so thinking about those, whether something is easy to moderate, like a 6 out of 10, whether something is moderate, like that 7 out of 10, moderate to hard, 8 out of 10, hard, 9 out of 10, very hard, like, oh, max, that's your 10 out of 10. And so putting these all together helps you to understand the practicality of it for your training as a whole. It does put a little bit more load on you to help you so you can understand what you're actually lifting instead of just being told to lift this specific number. And so it takes a little bit extra at first, but it also puts you in the driver's seat to increase it when you feel good and decrease it when you're not feeling as good, and to not have that kind of devil on your shoulder saying that you suck and you should be lifting more than what you should. No, listen to our bodies and then push when we are feeling good. It'll take you a little bit to understand how to actually implement this. That's okay. But as soon as you start to really understand how to implement this, it's going to be so beneficial for you in the long run. I hope this helps you understand how to use rate of perceived exertion for your strength training and how to actually put it into play so you get the best bang for your buck and limit the injuries as much as possible. Cheers, y'all.